Welcome back to the Avian Avarice podcast. Justin and Dan here. Today we're going to be trying to answer the question, how does one become a birder? How do you start to be a birder if you aren't one already? Justin, how does somebody become a birder?
I think it all starts off with a field guide. You gotta get in that field guide first. And if you don't know anything, that's your best way of becoming someone who does know some things.
Okay, do you have a field guide that you prefer?
I'm an all Sibley guy.
Okay.
All Sibley guy for me.
So we've got this is actually the first edition. There's 2 editions of this book now, but this is the first edition of the Sibley Guide to Birding. And you can see mine is well worn from being paged through over and over again. The importance of a field guide is if you don't know what a bird looks like, this is how you find out, right? Basically, this is about seeing what birds look like so that you can learn not just what they look like, but also what the particular parts of the bird are that you should look for in order to know that that's what you're seeing. This is like a whole discussion unto itself, though, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And we are not going to attempt to cover field guides today in this segment because we have a lot of other things to try to talk about. But
right.
But yeah, this is a good one. I like this one.
Yes.
This is what I started off with when I was a kid. Did you ever have one of these?
No, I did not. I started with the Sibley.
Okay, so before there was the Sibley Guide to Birding, there was the Peterson Guide. This was like the birder's Bible for a long, long time. It's a little bit older, obviously now. Some of the pictures may not be labeled correctly, changes in taxonomy, stuff like that, and there's fewer pictures of each bird, so this is considered dated in some ways, but it's still a really good field guide if you get your hands on it.
I would say with the field guide thing, the best thing to do is check the range maps for birds that are in your area and start familiarizing yourself with those first, and then start looking out your window and go, get outside and go try to find those. That's the way I did it, and I just marked off every bird I have in that book right on the top of the page, and I keep track of it like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good suggestion. And learning what is available in your area is kind of a big part of becoming a birder. But I think the most important thing, if you're going to be a birder, is to go outside. We're coming to you via the web here. It's sort of ironically because birding is not a virtual sport. You can't do it on the internet. But yeah, getting outside in the field is probably the number one thing. And I think I want to encourage anybody who wants to be a birder that you should go against your instincts if your instincts are, I should watch 100 YouTube videos about this, I should go look up a million things on the internet, and I should go find out what everyone else does. You should go outside and you should figure it out on your own, at least for a while. I think that's the best way to get started.
And figure it out is exactly what you should do, because you're not going to know everything when you first go out there. In fact, I didn't know anything when I first started off. So go out there and be confused, and then go home and say, what was that? And figure it out and use your guide, and then try to piece it together what you have. And then the next time you see it, you'll know it right away. Right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. There's a lot of resources on the internet that didn't exist when I was starting to be a birder. When I started birding, I was single digits, right? So that's another story for another podcast we already covered, but I didn't have the option. Today's birders, new birders, have the option of looking at a lot of new resources, and I think, they're always there. Don't rush to get into them. Find your own places to look for birds first, have your own experiences first, and those are more memorable than just trying to take somebody else's word for it.
Yeah, that's true. And go try to find your own places to find your own stuff, because you're going to see lots of bird watchers all over the place when you go out. But just because they're all there doesn't mean that's the only place you could be. There's plenty of other places you could go, and you could just walk around. That's the best part of this whole thing. It brings you to places you never otherwise would have went to, and you actually find some cool places around. Like, I didn't even know this was here, and now you're here looking for stuff that you never would have seen before. That's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just getting started and you're just learning the basics, any park that's near your house could be a good place to start. Any place that's bigger than your own yard probably has birds that you don't have in your own yard, right? So you may start by looking out the window and you notice a couple of things that are there, and then you go up one step and find a park that's nearby that you can spend some time and you find some new things that are different. And then maybe you go to an even bigger park that's more well known for birding or something like that. But when you're starting, just go to a place nearby and learn the birds that are near your house so that you have a starting point to start to gain appreciation for what's available, what's rare, what's not, what's out of the ordinary. That's an important thing that I think you learn from experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you should find some friends or people to go birding with, because at some point you're going to sort of reach the limit of what you can do with self-study or reasonably.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that. Yeah.
So finding some people to go birding with. I mean, I know that was a big part of how you got started.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you're going to ask a lot of questions. So the person you go with is going to have to be a little on the patient side, because you're going to be peppering them with questions. So as long as it's someone that you know a little bit, and if you find somebody like that and you can go with it, that would make it a lot easier. That's how it was for me. My first time going out was a good experience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Most birders are pretty friendly. So when I was 15 years old and my parents might drop me off somewhere to go birding, or when I first started driving, if I saw another birder in a park or a preserve or something, I would walk up to them and just say, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And most people are fine with you asking, and then they'll tell you what's going on. And honestly, as a kid, teenager, I would follow other birders around. Maybe I was annoying them, I don't know. But I would just walk with them, and they would point stuff out to me, and some of them would say, "Hey, this is the kind of tree you should look in for this bird, or this is the type of place that you should look for that bird." And I learned a lot from people who had gone before me and knew things.
Right. And then when you get really good at it, you tend to avoid other birders. you go like, "I don't care what they're looking at," and you go look for something else on your own.
Yeah. I mean, it does come full circle, I guess, in a little bit of a way. But there's a point at some point where you're going to want to see what you can do on your own, and then also I think this is kind of what this is about right now. Is you reach a point where you do want to share with new birders what you've learned, and that's the point of what we're doing right here.
Yeah,
is
that's right.
Trying to give some sort of tutelage to what you can do to kind of get into the hobby and figure things out.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think is a good piece of advice is a lot of people want to go out and get binoculars right away, right? You may own some kind of binoculars, but a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is say, "Oh, I'm a birder now, I got to go out and get binoculars." And they end up with some buyer's remorse, because when you first start, you don't honestly really know what you need, and then you want to get something that's better than what you have, and you go out and you buy it, and you think that you got a good deal or you spent the right amount of money on it, and you realize these are actually pretty cheap and they're middling at best, and maybe they're not even that good, and then a year later you're like, "Oh, these are not that great, I need a new pair of binoculars." So
yeah, and they're not cheap.
And they're not cheap.
Especially the ones you're going to wind up with are going to be expensive, and maybe ask a birder if they're comfortable with you sharing, or letting them look through theirs, or going to an optics store and just trying a bunch out. But you definitely just don't go buy one right away. No,
right.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and when you're just learning, you know what, the $40 pair of binoculars that you have from watching football games or whatever is fine for a while. Get used to what you're really dealing with and what you can handle, and then you can make an educated decision.
Yeah, I mean, I started off with a bird feeder, and I had my guide right next to my window, and then I look to see the bird. I didn't have binoculars; I didn't need them.
Right.
They didn't come until a little later. So. Right.
And actually, that's another great point is, if you're a beginning birder, get a bird feeder. Right. If you can put one around your house, get a bird feeder, because that will bring the birds closer to you, and you'll get a chance to observe them and see different aspects of their life and what they do, and you could have a better chance to observe them and see them up close and see little things that you wouldn't see in the field.
And then you check them off you check them out of your bird book, and then you'll notice after a while you're not getting anything new. You're seeing all the same stuff. That'll motivate you more to get out and go see something. Right. That'll get you, I want to see something other than this, nuthatch every day, and then maybe that'll get you to go out and get more interested in it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think the best thing to do now is to get out of here and go look at some birds.
Yeah.
So get out of here. Yeah. Sign off of your computer.
Turn this off and go outside.
Go outside. All right, till next time. More Avian Avarice.